We can move on to our third game we broke down, though, and previewed, and now we can review it. And that is the Sunday Night Football game with Baltimore at Buffalo. An absolute shootout. These offenses were amazing. It looked like the Ravens were maybe going to run away with it. They're up 40-25 with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. People are overreacting like crazy on Twitter. Oh, it's over. The Bills are bad now.
Twitter. Chris
Collinsworth.
He was starting to, sign it, and it was done. He was like, the NFL needs to be scared of these Baltimore Ravens and the way they dominated the Buffalo Bills. And I didn't send it. I was about to tweet, Chris Collinsworth needs to shut up because this game's not over. But then I didn't want people to be like, well, like for the Ravens to win it, and then people call me a bozo for saying what's true, and then turned out to be true. Continue.
But no, they're up, and then all of a sudden, Derrick Henry fumbles, and Josh Allen leads them back, and suddenly they're within 2, going for a 2-point conversion to tie it, and they don't get the 2-point conversion. And it's like, man, great try, but I guess it maybe will come up a little short. And the Ravens go 3 and out and punt it away, and Josh Allen leads them right back down the field, and they kick the game-winning field goal. Shout out Matt Prater. Huge kick there. You mentioned he just joined the team.
He took the red-eye flight on Friday morning because they notified him like late Thursday that they were going to put Tyler Bass on IR on Friday. And so he took the red-eye Friday morning to Buffalo, where he was out in Arizona. He had played for the Cardinals last year, played in Buffalo week 1, and was the Cardinals kicker all of last year. Red Eye was with the team Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, 3 field goals, 2 extra points in the game winner.
He's like that. But a very fun game to watch. We saw why both these teams were really highly regarded coming into the season as two of the elites in the AFC. But what are y'all's thoughts on this game? What did y'all see?
The Baltimore Ravens run game is, as expected, dominant. Do you know how many yards per carry Derrick Henry averaged on 18 attempts?
So like 9?
It was almost 10, 9.8 or 9.4. Sorry, 9.4 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. Lamar on his 6 rush attempts averaged 11.7 with a touchdown. As a team, on 29 rush attempts, they averaged over 8 yards per carry. I mean, the Bills' defense, it was constantly like you were just like, if they handed the ball off, you're like, all right, where's the safety? He's going to have to make the play here because the linebacker's not there. And I don't know if it was, bad positioning by linebackers. I think that there was the one play where a corner, it was the Derrick Henry touchdown, where it was either a corner or a safety who was playing close, thought he had him, and it turns out Derrick Henry's just way faster than you think. Beat him to the edge, and it was just an easy touchdown.
Yeah, Taylor Rapp.
Yes, thank you, Rapp. So the run game was insane, and the Ravens were dominant for most of this game. I don't think the Bills really turned it on until the fourth quarter. That's when they scored 15 points, 16.
Scored 22 in the fourth.
22, thank you. 22 in the fourth. Josh Allen had how many pass yards in the fourth quarter?
260 or something like that.
He had 289 total yards.
That's, yeah.
269 total yards, sorry.
So the Ravens did dominate for much of the game, but then the fourth quarter they really turned it on. You can go ahead.
Do you know who is, you probably do know this because he's your guy, most passing yards in a fourth quarter in NFL history?
Yeah, and a loss.
That is really tough.
Yeah, Drew Brees.
292, though. That's wild.
Yeah.
You're right, though. The Ravens' offense looked fantastic. It did stall at the end, which is kind of starting to become a bit of a worrying trend in terms of Ravens not closing games or not executing great down the stretch. I personally also would have liked to see them go for it on 4th and 3 because the way the Bills were moving the ball, it just kind of felt like if you give Josh Allen the ball back, it was over. And then to hear Lamar say what he said in the presser, I don't love that necessarily either.
What did he say?
He was basically like, oh, I was cramping. So that's why we didn't go for it.
For me, the problem was not even that play call, deciding whether or not to go. It's the fact that Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry were beating Buffalo the entire night.
Yeah.
And you gave the ball to Derrick once, and you threw it, or you handed it off to Zay Flowers the other time, and then you just threw a little in route, a short one. The ball was never in Lamar's chance with a chance to win the game. The ball was really never in Derrick Henry's hands with a chance to win the game. And I thought that was the problem. Like, for me, if Buffalo had they converted the 2-point conversion, that Keon Coleman kind of drops on the little fade route to tie it at 40. Baltimore wins that game because they just play aggressive. They continue to play the kind of offense they've been playing the entire game. They drive down the field. They give it to their young kicker who hadn't missed yet. He made a 50-yarder in the game. They kick the game-winning field goal and win. But because they were so scared about losing to Josh Allen on a game-winning field goal, they were so worried about trying to make sure Buffalo used all their timeouts. They took their foot off the gas, and they, for how electric they were. Derrick Henry's averaging 9.4 yards per carry. You only need 10 yards for a first down, and they just give it to him 3 times. Hell, they'd run 3 read options with Lamar and Derrick Henry, and they didn't do that. And that cost them the game, and this is kind of a reoccurring theme for them as well. It's just in these big games, they have so many just like questionable moments. And for a franchise that everyone views so highly in the Baltimore Ravens, and for John Harbaugh, who everyone views so highly because of his continued success over multiple decades, these moments continue to just occur for really no explanation. And for me, like, it really makes me feel like this is the last year of Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh. And Lamar's not going anywhere because he's got a nice, healthy contract. So this may be John Harbaugh's last year in Baltimore if they can't get it done and win the Super Bowl. Because this kind of, excuse my language, this kind of shit can't continue to happen. You cannot lose a game like this. It's not like this is just a loss to, like, the Raiders last year in Week 2 where you come off the devastating loss to the Chiefs. No, this is to the Bills. This is for home field advantage. This is to give yourself a chance to host Buffalo instead of having to go to Buffalo in the postseason again for a third time. This can't happen, especially with how good your offense is playing the entire game. And so it's inexplicable, and it really just brings a ton of questions under Baltimore, which is crazy because if they just pick up 10 yards,
this conversation is not happening.
They're on top of a pyramid I'm about to reveal.
Yeah. It's a great point. I mentioned it's kind of becoming a bit of a trend earlier, and it's simply that. Like, it is becoming really hard to trust this team in key moments. They came in and it was all business. They built this huge lead. It's like, okay, they know what this game means. They know it probably means the 1 seed in the AFC, and then they go and piss it down their leg. It's just very frustrating to watch for such a good team to continually do that in big moments. It's pretty inexplicable.
Yeah, it's also, I don't know. I feel like saying that this could be the end for John Harbaugh, John Harbaugh is a little extreme when I think that this came down to like really like 2 fluky plays. Derrick Henry, the guy who's fumbled 3 times in the last 34 games, so once every 10 games, fumbles, which he does not do. Wild. And then the Josh Allen tip that Keon Coleman is somehow just standing, like, that's not something that the Ravens can plan or account for. That's not something the Bills
don't let Keon
drew
Coleman
up.
be open, man.
I mean, he wasn't open
I
until
agree.
the pass was short and the defenders leave and then it gets tipped. I mean, it's just wild stuff.
I agree.
Yeah.
But that is something that's going to happen because of the shape of a football. It's just bounces are going to happen.
Yeah.
Bounces are not going to go your way. Bounces are going to go your way. They still had the ball 1st and 10 with how good their offense was playing, and they took their foot off the gas pedal. That is what's inexplicable for me. And then also, like, we talk about Baltimore. I talked about Baltimore in our preseason was like, we remember their defense to begin the year. It was really piss poor. But actually, statistically, at the end of the year, they were one of the best defenses in the league. And then you come into week 1, you give up 41 points to Josh Allen when you arguably have added pieces on the defense. When you add a guy like Mike Green out of Marshall, and you add Malachi Starks, and Kyle Hamilton is fully healthy, and Roquan Smith is fully healthy, like, that's another part of it. Because, like, the Ravens, kind of culture is built on tough defense. It always has been, and that's another thing that you can control. I understand, like, fluke plays happen, but, like, people are going to make mistakes. Zay Flowers is going to get the ball knocked out in the AFC Championship game. that's going to happen. But what do you do on the other drives? What are you
Yeah.
doing in your decision making? When are you executing in the other circumstances? And they just aren't. And I wouldn't fire John Harbaugh because of the success he's had and that organization. He deserves a long time or a life contract. He's won a Super Bowl there, 2 of them exactly. So there's no reason to. But it don't, like, you have Lamar Jackson. You have one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time from a talent perspective,
And you're just wasting it up
and
to
you're
this point.
wasting it.
Yeah.
And you also have like the fact that like it's no multi-time MVP has not won a ring, and Lamar, it doesn't look like that's in his future if stuff like this is going to continue to happen.
Yeah, sure. I don't disagree. Talking about their defense, we expect it to be good coming into this season, and then they give up 41, like you said, JP. Any long-term concern there, or are you just kind of more so chalking this up to it's week 1 and you had to play Josh Allen?
I think there should be, because on one hand, Josh Allen is arguably the best quarterback in the league from a talent perspective. The dude is just insane. The throws he makes, because of the amount of arm strength he has and just his talent, he makes throws that you can't defend, and he makes throws to players that you would never think were going to happen. Like, there are throws he makes in that game on Sunday night that just, you can clearly watch the corner and they're just like their head just turns and just goes by him. It's just like, how did the ball get there that quickly? But still, look at the Bills' weapons. They don't have big-time weapons. You should be able to shut down Keon Coleman.
I don't know.
And
Did you
Khalil
see
Shakir.
Keon Coleman's chain after the game?
Joshua Palmer has 6 catches
That's a
for
wide
59 yards.
That's a wide receiver 1 chain right there.
That I think is a concern going forward, because with the division, or not with the division, with the conference you're playing in, you're going to continue to play elite quarterbacks. You need to be able to shut down weapons. And arguably, all of the other AFC teams have better weapons than this. Chargers really the only argument where you could say the weapons are about the same, but Jamar Chase, T. Higgins,
Jerry Jeudy.
Okay.
Dylan Sampson.
That was not
Joe
where I was-
Flacco.
Not
You
where I
gotta
was
watch
going,
out.
but like C.J. Stroud has Nico Collins and Woody Marks. So it's a concern, I think, going forward, that this is maybe the same defense we saw at the beginning of last year.
Sure.
But if they continue to play offense the way they do, it may not matter. The problem is you get into a spot like Detroit last year. Their offense was outstanding the entire year, and then you get into a spot where the other team just outshoots you. And that's going to happen way more often, and defense wins championships for a reason, so they're going to have to get this together.
I have a question.
Sure.
And JP's talked a lot, so Jack, if you want to answer, you can, or you can redirect it to
Okay.
JP. We were talking in the yapping group chat after the game about the Bills defense. So let's turn and flip it. We'll talk about the Ravens defense. They gave up 41. The Bills defense gave up 40.
Sure.
How do we feel about the Bills defense going forward? Because this is the second Super Bowl favorite behind the Ravens.
I don't feel great. And I didn't feel great pre the season. The secondary concerns are very much there for me, both from a talent standpoint, like in camp, and then they've sustained some injuries, so it's even weaker to the point, they're re-signing Jordan Poyer to a deal, trying to make something happen, piecemeal something together back there. And so I didn't feel great about their secondary. And I know it's the Ravens and the rushing attack is great, but you have your front 7 shredded like that on the ground just does not exude confidence or help me feel any better about a unit I already felt bad about. So I have concern there as well. Andrew McBride is the one that made the comment of he doesn't know if this defense is good enough to win a championship, and I was like, I agree, because I don't. It's just a pretty poor unit overall. It wasn't a great showing. They can get better throughout the season. Maybe pieces in the secondary get healthy and they gel and become a good unit. But right now, it's not a very good defense, in my opinion. And then going back to the Ravens defense real quick, we were higher than preseason, and then I started seeing stuff from Baltimore Ravens fans about how they were worried about the defense. And that gave me pause, because if someone's going to know the team better than me, it's clearly the Ravens fans. And so the fact that they had worries about the defense started making me a little worried, and then we saw them give up 41 points Sunday night. So I also am a little concerned about their defense too, though I'm more concerned about the Bills' defense. JP?
I think there's right to be concerned about the Bills' defense. It is what is pained them every single time they've played Kansas City. Even in the game they played against Cincinnati in the postseason, their defense has been historically top 10 in the league every single year for Josh Allen. And then in the postseason, in their losses, they give up, I don't know the number exactly off the top of my head, but it's 30-plus per game in their losses. So it's always a concern. And for that to happen on night one, I don't think that's going to, change that. The one thing you could maybe turn it to is like, well, we're playing Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. So that's kind of hard.
There's a great built-in cope.
Yeah,
hard
it
to
just
stop there.
doesn't help when it's like, so are you just going to stop them when you face them in the divisional playoffs?
Agreed. That's the problem. You're going to have to play them anyway.
Yeah.
I think is certainly a concern going forward because, like I said, defense wins championships. That is in large part the reason that Kansas City has won all of these AFC championship games. And even in the year with the year the Cincinnati Bengals won the AFC championship, they shut down the Bills when they went to Buffalo. And then they went to Kansas City, and Mahomes played arguably his worst playoff game ever. Throwing two picks, choking a big lead. Like, the defense played really well for Cincinnati that day. That is what has been the missing piece for Baltimore and Buffalo. Baltimore, a little less so. The one chance they got, they just couldn't score a damn point. But for Buffalo, that has been the problem, is Mahomes has just outshot them every single time. Or they haven't been able to pick up first downs when they need to.
Sure.
So it's a concern. But you're 1-0. You have the tiebreaker against Baltimore, and Kansas City's 0-1. Right now, you're top of the AFC. You have to take that weekend.
Yeah.
Every single time.
100%. I'd like to point out Sanders just tried to hold my hand.
My hand was there first, and you reached out and touched
it. That's you can try and spin that story.
I have another thing to hit on. James Cook, JP, was a guy you, in our fantasy preview, you were low on. He had a really great game last night. This is not like, I don't know if this is ball talk. It's almost fantasy talk. What are your thoughts on James Cook's game? Takeaways from that? Are you less nervous about him as a fantasy player or just as a traditional, like, X's and O's running back? Like, what are your thoughts about James Cook's game last night?
Well, I think what helped
Sunday
night. What helped him a ton was just receiving. I don't expect 5 catches, 58 yards every single time. The big thing last year, so in his career, rushing, his rookie year, he only gets 89 carries the entire year, so not a ton of volume, but he has 2 touchdowns. His second year in the league, he plays all 17 games. He has more carries than he had last year, 30 more to be exact. Has 2 rushing touchdowns. And then last year, has 200 carries, 1,000 yards, has 16 touchdowns. That's where the concern was, that is a 14 touchdown difference on less carries. You can only expect regression there. And he played great in that first one, but I don't expect it to be like consistent throughout the rest of the year, especially because like Buffalo likes their other running backs, and for me, it's fantasy-wise, it surprised me James Cook got the receiving volume he got, considering Buffalo still has Ray Davis and Ty Johnson.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's enough to say that like it's changed the way I feel about James Cook. James Cook owners obviously would be happy after last night.
As one, I was very happy after last night.
But I just didn't like where he was being drafted, which was in the early 30s. I just thought that was too high. I think you could get the same value from a guy deeper in the draft like a Chuba Hubbard or Alvin Kamara, who's getting picked about 10 picks later.
Yeah, and I will say 58 is the most receiving yards he's ever had in a game. Sorry, I looked at 2024. I didn't go back past that. 2024 was his big year. He never hit that number last year. 51 of those 58 yards came on the one screen that he stiff-armed a guy, almost got to the end zone. It was a great play. I think that's kind of like the reason I'm hesitant to be low on him, is he is still very explosive.
That was nice to see, considering he didn't practice much of camp. He was in a contract dispute. So that was really nice to see that he was just at least ready to go.
Yeah, And then I'll also say that you compared 2 years ago to last year when he had the 16 touchdowns. They did change OCs between 2 years ago and last
Yep.
year. So there's a possibility the new OC really likes
Davis.
his
Or Joe Brady.
yeah. Really likes getting Cook more involved in the red zone, which leads to more touchdowns, and doesn't want Allen maybe taking hits trying to get in the end zone. So maybe that's a reason.
Allen also had the most rushing touchdowns he's ever had last season too.
Yeah, I that's not there's no research to back that. That's just maybe
You're
the
spitballing here.
new OC. Like maybe the reason we saw the increase in touchdowns and it might be sustainable is the new OC just likes giving Cook red zone looks. So I was happy with his performance last night as an owner of him in fantasy.
Well, I mean, that's completely fair. I think you'd be happy with anyone's performance that night outside of Mark Andrews. I think you would have taken anyone else's performance that night.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Big win for Buffalo at home, though. Like JP said, they now kind of control the AFC early on. At this point, there's a very long way to go, but it's a massive start to securing the 1 seed, considering how the weekend shook out.